What's up there, YouTube? So, I gotta stop saying so. Anyway, today I'm underneath the Motorhome 2001 Newmar Mountain Aire. Gonna change the rear airbags, which is that. So, both of them are starting to get dry rotted, which you can kind of see in this bottom corner here. And then this one in particular leaks every now and then when it wants to. But you can see how it's getting dry rotted and it's got a little gap there. So we're going to change it out to new ones. I have a new airbag here. And there's your air inlet on top and you got two holes here. Now when I called to talk to the place about them and make sure I get the right one, they asked me how many bolts did it have at the bottom and how many at the top. So this right here is how this works. This one has one bolt here, and then you take this nut off, and then here's your air inlet, which I already pulled this one off. So I was making sure I could get this done before I started this video. And then if you can see it, there's a bolt here and a bolt here with a nut on the back side. And that's what we got to take off, is those nuts. So those are the ones that are hard. The one here on the bottom isn't too bad. So when you look at these, see, this is a new one here. See how it has one on the bottom here, which matches the one on the bottom here. And then on the top, it has two that goes into the frame, and it's one bolt here, which is exactly the same as what the one up here is. So I got with an aftermarket manufacturer out of New Orleans. Guy was extremely helpful, took care of me. We got the new ones and kind of matched it to some pictures I had that I took whenever they were changing the tires out. So we got that right. I can call Spartan, which this is a Spartan chassis, and get the new airbags through them, which is what I did with the tie rod ends on the front. I just chose not to go that route. I was trying to get just some that I could get while I was in town at a truck place. So that's what I did, and we're going to go ahead and swap these out, and let me get these bolts broke loose, and I'll try to video as much as I can. I'm a one-man circus today. So basically the bolts that go through the top for this particular one is a 24, which is that, and then these bottom ones here are 3/4, so top 24. And then I used a crescent wrench, a big crescent wrench, to take the air valve off here. So I'm gonna take it off on both of them here, and then when I get the airbag out, I'll take this off and screw it into the top where it goes here. So we'll let me get these bolts broke loose, and then I'll show you how I slide these out of here and swap the air valves. Be back with you shortly. I use a ratchet. I had to use an extension, made it a little bit easier. Also had to use a breaker bar to break those bolts on the top on the outside because they were a little stiff. So best thing I suggest is get you a little bit of a PB Blaster or WD-40, anything that'll help nuts and bolts come apart a little easier, and spray those before you even get started. That way that stuff can start to penetrate. But I got them out. It's a little dark. There you go. I got those two out. Like I said, I took the air hose off already. I got one left to pull right here, and got that one off. So as you can see, this just lifts up. Well, it's kind of hard to do with one hand, but you can see it moving. So this just lifts straight up to get this out. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have the wife lift up on the jacks a little bit, and until I can get these out. So what that's gonna do is lift up the camper itself, not the axle. And so I have this huge gap underneath here, so I'm gonna be safe. I'm not gonna have to worry about anything because this axle's not gonna move, period. So we'll be good on that part. So I'm gonna have her lift up on that just to make sure I got just enough clearance to slide these out. And then, like I said, I'm gonna change the valves over to the new ones and then slide the new ones back in. So that's kind of my plan, and we'll go from there. So hopefully that works out. All right, so when I pulled these airbags out and took the valve out, this is the size of the hole, and then this is the size of the hole in the new one. I don't know if you can tell, but it's very small. So I had to go to Napa and get an adapter that fits on the valve that I have already. I'll put that on. I'm going to put some Loctite on this when I put these in, but I'm going to slide these new airbags in first, and then I'll put this back on and do that. These are a little bit taller, just because I think they're newer and they're not as worn down, so it's going to be a little tougher to get these in. So I'm gonna wait till after to put this on, just so it might be a little easier. So that's the next process. All right, so we got the airbags installed underneath there. Let me pull this blanket out the way so we can see. And what we're gonna do is go down on the jacks, and then after we do that, I'm gonna check everything, and then we're gonna air them all up, and I'm gonna check them for leaks. So I got Britt on the phone. She's in there gonna work the jacks. Baby, go ahead and go down on the jacks. All right, stop. Okay, now I'm gonna climb underneath there and check everything. Check it all out, and then we'll air them up, make sure there's no leaks. So I'll show it to you after that, and then I'll give you a rundown on all the tools that I used. Alrighty, well, we got her all aired up. There's no leaks. So to recap, pulled them out. I had to go back and get a adapter, which I got from Napa, so you can find that kind of stuff at Napa. And here's the tools that I use. So I used a small crescent wrench. I use this just to pry on stuff, so it's not necessary.
You use the crowbar.
I used the crowbar. I used the Loctite. I had the hammer in case I needed it. I didn't really use it. I did use a breaker bar, 3/4 inch breaker bar. I used a 3/4 inch socket for the bottom. The top was a 24, which I had the socket already with a big ratchet. I used the channel locks just for the valves, the air chucks, to kind of help get those off. That wasn't really necessary because I used the baby crescent wrench, and then I used a big crescent wrench. You don't really need one that big, but that little one opened up just barely enough in order to get on it, but it's nice to have a little more meat. I did have to use a breaker bar to break loose the bolts that were through the frame, so I would have liked to had a second 24 socket. That would have came in handy. It'd have been a little easier. You know, right tools makes things a lot easier. So overall, it's a tough job. It's doable. I had the jacks hold up the camper. The camper was only going to come down so far, which was where it would sit without having the jacks up and the airbags not aired up. So I was safe in that little area there where I was working. Ideally, you want to have jacks underneath it, or even jack stands. So that's something you can do if that makes you feel better. I guess you could just say I was confident in what I was doing. So, all right, overall, that's your tools. Job well done. All right, until next time, keep bringing your dreams to reality.